everyone. Welcome. I'm not sure who all is here, but you are all obviously welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about the Central Park 5 / the Central Park Jogger case. To go with our series of wrongfully convicted. So we've done the West Memphis 3, Amanda Knox. Who was the other one? There was another one that we did. Blanking on it. But I'm not saying anything to be louder. But yeah, so today I'm going to be trying to figure out how to sculpt dreads for the very first time. So that's going to be fun. And we're all going to laugh at me while I do that. And then before that, I'm probably going to finish up Anna Kasparian's Bunko. Because it is just about done and just needs some very, very tiny finishing touches. And then to seal it. And I have some more finishing touches to put on the Salt Dragon, but it's just about done as well. So, oh, someone said something. Paige Lars, hello, welcome. No worries at all. Paige Lars is never late, nor is Shirley. But yeah. So it'll be an interesting discussion. And then if we finish, I will announce what the theme on Thursday is going to be. But if we don't finish, then we'll just continue on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Paige Lars, how are all of your appendages doing right now? Please let me know if you have news. In the meantime, I'm gonna start trying to figure this shit out. I'm gonna wait like a couple minutes before getting into the topic, just so that people have time to arrive. We're gonna see how this goes. I am gonna make it up as I go. So, no news besides PT first before moving forward with anything. Oh, that's so frustrating. God damn it, I was supposed to call for the CAT scan today. Tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow. I can't schedule my hip surgery without getting a CAT scan first. And I keep spacing on calling about that again after dealing with ridiculousness over the phone for a long time. But yeah. So we're just gonna chill for a bit before getting into it. Not for too long, but for a bit. But has anyone who's here heard what?
I've turned off the AC.
Oh. Can I set some alarms on my phone that are during office hours to remind me? That's what producer Brian is for. He reminded me yesterday to call the pharmacist. So, you know, that was awesome. Because CAT scan will have changed since before needed surgery. Well, it's going to be the first time that they pay attention to my hips. Before this, it's only been my back. So, something new, kind of. But yeah, so there we go. There's the AC off. He did it, our hero.
I had to turn the heating off, turn the AC on, turn the temperature for the AC up, and then turn it off when it's shut off.
Our hero. But yeah, so I've had, I'm MRIs on my back, and I think I had a CAT scan on my back as well before. But yeah, they've never really been like, what's going on with the hips? Because that's not been an issue before. So, but much more interesting than me is the Central Park 5 case. I'm just waiting a few minutes before starting to get into it. And in the meantime, figuring out dreads.
Hey, it's Armac.
Hello, Armac. Welcome. I hope you're excited for your first stream tomorrow. Hero may be stretching the truth. Hi. Of course, you had to schedule your stream for right in the middle of the TYT main show. So thanks for that. But I will definitely be there anyway. Because that's how much I care. Yeah. Alright. I love that excitement. What time is that gonna be for you in Australia? If it's 7 here. Right? 7 here?
Yeah, that'll be around 11, 10 in the morning, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay. So it'll be morning show.
Yeah.
Got it. Slightly convenient. Well, it depends on it depends on who the power panel is. But yeah. Smeagol, what are you doing, honey? Are you guarding the wires? Or are you guarding the paint? What are you guarding, my love? No, we're not jumping over there. I know. Oh, Smeagol's not even on camera. There we go. That's more important. Yeah. Was either TYT or Audie, and who would dare compete with Audie? That's extremely fair. Yeah. I can't argue with that. Solid logic. So, okay. So today we're going to be talking about the Central Park 5. And if I finish the story, I will announce at the end of the stream what Thursday's theme is going to be. If I don't get through the entire story, then on Thursday we will continue it. So that is my plan. I hope that works for everyone else. If not, I don't know what to tell you, because that's the plan.
Alright, give me a couple seconds while I move some stuff around. I'm going to mute everything for a couple moments.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, cool. I hope you enjoyed the show. In between scenes. What are you doing? Oh, you want your toy? Is that what you want? No? I don't know what you want, my love. So yeah. So I don't know how familiar everyone is with the Central Park 5 case. Like, scale of, let's say, 1 to 5. What's your familiarity with the case in general? I'm just curious. Pick the correct one to preempt.
TYT, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I can speak from experience that cutting into Audie's stream time does no favors with your viewership count. Very low familiarity. 1 to 5 page layers. 4. Alright, hello Willie Gus. Lovely to see you. one of the fun things while looking at videos and stuff for researching purposes, I came across a video that was an interview with one of the well, they were boys when it all went down, but now they're grown-ups. 2.5. Okay. Now they're men. So I found an interview with one of the men done by TYT. Specifically, Michael Shore. And that made me very happy because who doesn't love Michael Shore? What's up, my love? What do you want? The paint is not for you. I'm sorry. This down again. It's not for you.
Look what I'm touching.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We got your primer. We got your primer. If you knock that down, I'm gonna be really upset. You weirdo. He's so likable, Rhetorical. Oh my gosh. He's like your favorite uncle vibe, you know?
Touching your paint can.
Like, that's the vibe that I get from him.
Touching your paint can.
Uh-oh. You better get back over here. Look. Look. I'm touching it. We're touching it. Class. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, Armac. Class act, for sure. And it was a really good interview. He did a really good job.
Spiegel.
And, like, a really respectful interview, which I greatly appreciated, because these men have been through enough without interviewers being difficult, you know? And it was... I'm going to mention later on why the timing of the interview was particularly intense, because that is something later on in the story. But let's get started, shall we? I remember when he left the DNC proper to do an interview from his car, and it's like, how thoughtful. Aw.
Well, that didn't work as intended.
Okay. She's gonna knock this over, so we gotta move it over anyway.
Right.
She wants all of my paint. Okay. Okay.
That's because she started out with a primer on it.
You're fired. I bet you I saw that. I saw something this weekend on there, and I almost sent you the video, but I don't remember when I watched it as I was on for relaxers and stuff to watch. Oh, I definitely fully
think I know what it might be under.
Is it under the Schmeeks? No? Okay. Can you pull up my text to you?
Yeah.
I just want to get those.
I don't know where my phone is.
Also 70s, grew up in Detroit. Okay. I thought that in the 70s it was a little more, just because, like, the auto industry was a little bit better then. Am I wrong about that? I'm not, like, super well versed on Detroit history. I swear you could pick any year and find someone say that crime was rampant. Oh, absolutely. But this is, like, really bad. So it was that year so the year that this happened so this is 1989, which is like a full decade into like when attempts to fix things were starting. So 1989 there were almost 2,000 murders in New York City, and like for scale, what was last year? 250? 350. So last year, 350 murders. 1989, the year of the Central Park 5, almost 2,000? Almost 3,000. What did I just say?
It was 1,850 or something.
There we go. Almost 2,000. So a little bit of an increase there. It's but I want to give you the other figures that. Okay. So at this point, there were 250 felonies a week on the subway system, and in the Times Square area, there were 2,300 plus crimes every year in a 1-block radius of Times Square. Wild. Just wild. But your birth year, my birth year is the year before. I was born in 88, and actually the day that this all happens is my mom's first birthday as a mother, because it was the first year that I was there. So, but yeah. So, in the 70s, things were getting, like, really, really bad in New York City, was, like, in crime, and then, like, just no one was spending money on upkeep or, making sure that things weren't getting, like, old and falling apart. And when you don't focus on that, things get old and fall apart. The cameras are multiplying. Hello, Raffle Iron Chef. Producer Brian didn't like that you couldn't see what I was doing on the desk anymore. So, I do like how it's reversed though, where I'm on the bottom and it's on the top. Make sure they aren't in the walls breeding. All the cameras.
Oh, don't worry, they are.
Yeah. Alright. In case you missed my disclaimer, I'm figuring out dreads for the very first time. So hopefully I'm doing it right and not extremely dumb. But yeah. Smeagol, what you doing? What you doing?
Defending the paint.
So yeah. So by 1989, things had like really, really gotten bad. In terms of like, in terms of upkeep. Thank you. She looks good a little bit. It's fine. Smeagol. You having fun? Look at that. Should have named her Smaug.
That would have been fairly fitting.
Two eyes that can be closed. Yeah, that you know of, Raffle Iron. It is her box of paint now. Yeah. Yep. Can you see her? Hello, Chip. Welcome. All right. So 1989, New York City was seriously fucked. Like, it was disintegrating, basically, and crime was wild, like we just discussed. Drew and Georgia, welcome back. Thank you for the subscription renewal. We missed you a lot, yeah. Lovely to see you. Her Paint and her Danny, yeah. She's been guarding me a lot, the last, like, week or so, just because, like, my back has started hurting in a way that, like, isn't making me concerned, but is really annoying. So I'm going to seal Anna, because I think we're good. Did I want to add glitter? I should add glitter, because then she'll match the Salt Dragon a little bit better. Okay, I'm adding glitter. So yeah, New York City was just, like, seriously fucked at this point. And, crime was really bad, and, like, police corruption was really bad, as it always is here.
Wait, what? The
I know.
police are corrupt.
I know. It's a shock. And just... yeah, and it was an extremely dangerous time. Fortunately, things have changed. But it was an extremely dangerous time to be a black male. So, fortunately, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Because progress. But yeah, so, an extremely dangerous time. Like, you had to just, like, constantly watch your ass, basically. And yeah, so there was crime everywhere, varying degrees. This centers around... oh, there should probably be a content warning. Although it's not going to be discussed too much. But this does center around a rape. Like I said, it's not going to be discussed too much, but it is... that's what the case is. And so content warning for that.
Rough Iron Chef pointed out, I love how conservatives will say white men are being oppressed, but not black men are being protected. There's just only one of those that they can even for a moment pretend anyone will believe.
Yeah. Good point. So yeah, I really do need my phone. Where did my phone go? I was just using it to Google. Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. I want to make sure that I get the names. I'm good with the first names, but the last names I sometimes mix up. So I'm going to give you the names of the people that are the Central Park Five, and their ages at the time that this happened in 1989. So there's Raymond Santana, who was 14, Kevin Richardson, who was also 14. Then there was Antron McCrae, who was 15, Yusef Salam, who was also 15, and Corey Wise, who was 16. Yusef Salam, by the way, is the one that I found Michael Schur doing an interview of. So if you came late, one of the videos that I found while doing research for this was an interview that Michael Schur did with one of the guys for TYT interviews. So I will definitely be posting a link to that in the Discord later. And also, if you are late, if we get through the entire story, I'm going to announce at the end of the stream what Thursday's theme is, but if we don't get through the entire story, then we're just going to continue on Thursday. So yeah. So these boys lived in Harlem, which, like, considering how bad the entire city was at the time, wasn't that bad, you know, but still wasn't great. And there was this thing that would happen, mostly in the 80s, where, like, lots and lots of dehumanizing language is used to describe it, so I'm going to do my best to not do that. But first I'm going to read. My congresswoman sent me an email asking me if I supported a bill on tougher punishments on people who assault crimes. Answer was no. The only time I've said yes in her email should be passed. And I think something about another stimulus last year, but didn't happen. Oh, that's fun. The only time, like, that wanting harsher punishments like that is okay is if you are Sandra Bullock and you are starring in Miss Congeniality. Because that's one of the best jokes of all time. But other than that, mind your business.
But harsher punishments for...
Parole violators, Stan.
Harsher punishments for police who abuse their power.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, let's start with punishments.
Yeah.
Because harsher than 0 is still 0.
No, it's not. That's
I mean, if we're going with multiplication.
Yeah, but that's not multiplication. It's a inequality.
Assault police. So yeah. So what happened was on April 19th.
Good morning, Rude Ricky.
Hey, Rude Ricky. Welcome. April 19th, 1989. And aren't you proud of me for remembering the date? Never mind the fact that it's my mom's birthday and that didn't help me whatsoever. I'm just really good at remembering dates. Thank you. Just giving Anna some glitter. There was a woman named Trish Milleen, I think is how it's pronounced. Millen? Trish. Her name's Trish.
Trisha McMillan.
And
I want someone in the comments to get my reference.
Trisha McMillan?
Yeah.
Nope, sorry.
It's a deep cut.
Gotcha. Oh, I was talking about what was going on. Okay, sorry, I skipped ahead. So at the time, there was this thing that was happening around the city that involved like giant groups of mostly teenage boys that would like go around, and kind of like how there have been those like flash mob robberies of like Macy's and stuff lately, where like people just like run in and I'll grab something and then run out. Like, so it's just basically like mob mentality, like at its basest form, you know? Don't panic.
Correct.
So yeah, so it was kind of like that-ish. So basically, big groups of teenage boys, varying ages, and they didn't all have to know each other. Like, it could just be like boys like tenuously linked, like, oh, that's friend to friend and such. Oh, I'm not rude, Ricky. That's adorable. And I gotta do the eyes. So they would basically just like go around wreaking havoc. They called it wilding, and the like descriptions, especially from the press at the time, tend to be extremely dehumanizing. And so I'm going to try to avoid that. If I slip into quoting something, I apologize in advance. But basically, this giant group of teenage boys would enter and they would just start causing problems. They would harass people, they would assault people, I guess they would mug people, but I didn't hear a lot of reports of that, but I have to assume it did happen. Like, so on this night, they were doing things like, A couple went by on a tandem bike, so I hate them. And like they all like stood in the middle of the path and like as they went past like grabbed at them, which I can only imagine is genuinely terrifying when sounds like boys being boys. But yeah, so stuff like that. So sometimes mostly innocent fun, but not always innocent fun. Like sometimes it could get malicious, sometimes it could get dangerous, but it wasn't I wouldn't really classify it as violent. Shouldn't everyone hate tandem bikes? I mean, don't hate the tandem bike, hate the tandem bikers, you know? Sorry for the loud noises. Okay. So yeah, so they were just, you know, running around being shitty teenage boys. Don't do this, you know. It's not a great idea. But they were not at least none of the ones that I read about, like, they were not being overly violent and malicious. So the police show up because people are reporting that there's a group of boys assaulting people. Which is not untrue. They were assaulting people. I don't want to be, like, whitewashing it, you know? And, like, I think still to this day, the Central Park jurisdiction is, like, the safest in the city. And the cops are really, really responsive. And so one of the important things about context here is the context of Central Park itself. Excuse me as I get New York City historian nerdy here, but in the early 19th century, they decided to do the grid system of Manhattan. And while they started building upwards, they realized, like, oh, we should really plan for some sort of, like, park for everyone. Because at the time, the only parks that existed were for rich people, and they were private. And they really wanted something for kids all over to be able to use. If you hate the tandem bikers, you still hate the bike. That's fair. But I can't even ride a regular bike. I don't want to even try tandem biking. I mean, obviously for multiple reasons, and that's just one of them. But, yeah. Okay. So, Central Park. So it started opening in 1857. There was a design contest for the park that was won by a duo named Olmsted and Vaux? V-A-U-X. And,
Paige Lars pointed out, you mean it was two black towns before Central Park.
I
don't remember the names.
I'll get there.
Okay.
So, they, yeah, so a lot of people are surprised to find out that Central Park is not, like, a natural wilderness. It's actually really carefully designed and maintained. Like, very few things there were there before it was a park. Like, they did lots of dynamiting and whatnot. Especially because if you've been to Central Park, the giant black rocks that kind of stick out at weird angles, those are Manhattan schist. And that is, sorry, I know I'm getting really nerdy here. That is basically the foundation for Manhattan. And it is why we have, skyscrapers.
That's not a Band-Aid.
Oh, there's, I just found the Toy Story Band-Aids right here.
Oh.
there? Maybe I should probably have two.
Yeah, this one's a little big for that.
Okay. You know those rocks and that schist? Awesome. So it's a really, really firm foundation to the island, and it's why so many skyscrapers and stuff can be on it. And it's a really fun, like, addition to the environment, I think. I really like the schist. But other than that, it's all, like, carefully designed and maintained. See what a bit Drew and Georgia? They look really out of place to any geologist. Yeah, like, everything, like, they did full-on construction. And when they laid out where Central Park would be, they knew approximately what size they wanted, they knew approximately where, and they were able to figure it out and seized all the land through eminent domain. So it was mostly farmland for rich farmers, but there were some people who really got screwed. There was a village called Seneca Village that was almost entirely freed black people and Irish people. And Irish people were treated approximately the same way freed black people were at the time. And, like, I would say that pre-Civil War, immediately post-Civil War, black people were slightly above Irish very, very shortly. Very shortly. Then there was the Civil War draft riots, then there was more, like, hatred and turning against and everything, and that went away very quickly.
The other difference, though, is black people can just pretend not to be black.
That's true.
So, yeah, the attitude may have been worse, but the
yeah,
life was not. I have been guilty of terrorizing red-haired people. How dare you? They just had to be cool with it. That's fair. So Seneca Village was this close-knit community, like, established village. They'd been there for a while. They had multiple churches, multiple schools, and like I said, close-knit. And they fought really hard against the eminent domain because they did not want to lose their village, obviously. Don't start that schist, Kelly.
Jellyman Kelly. No. You're fired. You just got here, but you're fired. Wasn't the town compared to Tulsa and Black Wall Street? No, definitely not. This was a village of, like, poor farmer type people. Whereas Black Wall Street was very successful and wealthy. So they fought. Oh.
The fundamental difference there is Black Wall Street was basically stop being so important.
Oh, thank you, Ruffle Iron Chef.
And in this case, it was more of a you're not important enough.
Yeah.
And thank you, also again, Ruffle Iron.
So they fought really hard against it, but eventually lost because that's how things tend to go. And there is a sign up in the approximate location of Seneca Village that is there today. There was something that people found that they thought was rendered less important by bombs.
The Black Wall Street.
Oh, yes,
right.
yes.
That was when they were getting rid of Black Wall Street, was basically, you are being too important.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Versus stealing all the land from farmers, like, we don't care what you have.
The word that I'm sure was thrown around a lot was uppity.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, so people thought that, including me, thought that a foundation for one of the old buildings had been found a couple years ago. But it was recently discovered that that is not actually the case, and that the foundation is actually part of some old Victorian sandboxes that Victorian era US, which is not a thing, but like sandboxes that used to be there and were eventually covered over. So there's not actually a foundation there. But yeah, so there is the sign that they put up a little while ago, acknowledging the fact that there was a village there, and on the sign is the fact that, like, they never, like, regrouped and established a different village. Like, they all scattered, which I think is really sad, since they were, you know, close-knit. But America, Black Wall Street also was an accusation against a black person that gave white people the idea that they could kill and take Black Wall Street. Yeah, they decided that someone had committed a crime. I think, like, they whistled at a white woman, supposedly, but it was later not the case. Although that's also
not a crime.
No, Emmett Till was elevator.
I was gonna say, but it's like, whatever the accusation was.
Oh, yeah.
For Black Wall Street was, first of all, probably not even a crime.
And then second of all, probably did not happen.
Correct.
But yeah, whereas Seneca Village was just in the way.
Yeah, that was, like, even if you go back now and review everything that happened, there were no lies made up about Seneca Village. It was just, we're taking this because we want it, and we're going to make the laws such that we can do that.
Yeah, basically.
Versus Black Wall Street was come up with excuses so we don't have to obey the law.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, so that's one of the tragedies of the construction of Central Park. But, when it opened, like...
Yes. Oh, rhetorically, yes, it is Tulsa. That's correct.
It was seen as, like, the most democratic spot in the country because it was actually a place where, like, rich people and poor people existed side by side. Like, and that's still the case to this day. It is a place of, like, not equality, but closer than anywhere else in the city, you know?
Good evening, Greystorm 3.
Hey, Greystorm. Welcome. So yeah, so Central Park, like, from its, like, opening, once people realized what it was just loved by the entire city. And, like, that is actually important to the story. Mayor, I think it was Ed Koch at the time, said, like, he full on said, like, if it had been anywhere but Central Park, it wouldn't have been nearly as big a deal. But, like, they violated our sacred place or whatever. Like, that was a general thought, was, like, you don't fuck with Central Park. So, yeah, okay. So that's the setting. So now we will go to the actual event. Pagelers, I think that... Oh no, that is I'm mixing up Black Wall Street and Emmett Till. Like, what the inciting incident was for each one. But yeah, either way, both boys were completely innocent of whatever the accusation was, and even if they hadn't been, it wasn't a capital crime. So yeah. So, April 19th, 1989, can you make a box of Toy Story Band-Aids?
How'd you guys go?
Same.
Oh.
So it was in the evening, and a giant group of boys was wandering around Central Park wilding, right? And so just harassing people in the park. Speak Minds 1, thank you so much for resubscribing. Really appreciate that. Alright. But yeah. So. Oh, I think I have a room. Hello, welcome back. to go see Assassins, which I'm a bit jealous of. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the musical Assassins, but it's wonderful. Was it wonderful?
It's really good.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So yeah. So it was a group of about 30 boys running around causing mischief. You know, doing what other people tend to say, boys will be boys. Washing off my brushes. Oh my god. He's mad because I didn't laugh at his joke.
It's a damn good joke, damn it.
So he's making you all laugh.
Armac got it.
I got it. Thank you, Raffle Iron. Paige Lars is mad. Perfect.
Good. That's what I wanted.
So
I'm gonna have to turn that into like a 10 or 20 minute joke that leads up to it.
I'll disown you.
Okay. It's worth it.
Alright, y'all. Anna Kasparian is officially done, and I am going to seal up the Funko. So, here it is. Ta-da! Well then. Riding the dragon. Where is the cat, and can she poop on his bed for me? I'll ask.
Thank you, Butt Spot.
Can she butt on his butt? Boy, if I had a nickel. Alright. So, April 19th, 1989. Giant group of teenage boys wandering around Central Park causing mischief. At the same time, and content warning, I'm going to be talking about rape very briefly. And I'm going to try to avoid, I'm not going to get graphic about the rape, and I'm going to try to avoid getting graphic about the injuries. So, but content warning still. It's funnier because Alexander would be talking like a caveman instead of a style of English syntax.
Yeah, but it's I mean, yeah, yours is better. Shut up.
Alexander the Great is one of the like ultimate examples of they were roommates.
Who couldn't afford a second bed.
Or pajamas. Ralph Iron Chef just schooled you.
Yeah, I know. Still, I'm still going to turn it into like a 20-minute story that ends with an awful pun.
I'll warn people.
I won't do it when you're paying attention.
No,
I'll do it on one of my streams when you're out here.
I don't pay attention a lot of the time. But yeah. Okay. Sailing up Anna. Okay. So, there was a woman named Trish Miley? Something like that. I apologize. Maylee, I think is how you pronounce her last name. Okay. So she leaves her apartment to go on her evening or like nighttime jog, which if you are not aware, Central Park doesn't actually close. Central Park stays open all night, which is not something that most parks in New York City do. And Central Park is gorgeous at night. It's absolutely beautiful. One of the best dates I ever had was Central Park in the middle of the night. Now I'm not super plugged into media. I read a lot and I'm smart, but I try not to read everything important that happens. I mean, you'll never stop reading. That's what smart friends are for, yeah. It is fun to walk around at night. Yeah, it's really nice, but it is also very unsafe. That's dumb, just waiting for criminals. Yeah, it's very unsafe. I went with a man, so I was not scared, but I would never walk around Central Park at night by myself or jog around Central Park at night by myself. Like, it would just not happen. So it didn't go well for her. She was attacked. She was, we believe, fortunately, she does not remember anything from the attack. But she was attacked, like, most likely from behind and hit over the head. And then she was dragged from the path to, like, some bush, like, to the side. So, like, dragged off the path, like, so people really couldn't see where they were. The dude had time and privacy, and he used them. It is honestly shocking that she survived. She should not have survived. He left her for dead, thinking that she was dead. She lost most of her blood, and was also, when he left her for dead, he left her almost completely nude and, like, you know, out in the cold, like, exposed to the elements, bleeding profusely and dying, you know? And so she waited hours before anyone found her. But like I said, she has no memory of this, and she is very grateful for the fact that she has no memory of it. T, sorry I called you a bitch. I can totally hear that in her voice. Hello, Samalin the Kind Dragon. That was a Ravana quote, not a me quote, by the way. But yeah, so some people heard some sounds in the bushes and went and found her and called the police and ambulance, and they came and saved her. But they did not expect her to survive. Like, they were very sure that she was going to die. And, like, are there wild animals like wolves in Central Park back then? Not that I'm aware of, no. But yeah, so she was just, like, it was so bad, she was beaten so badly by this guy that, and note that I'm saying this guy, not these 5 guys. She was beaten so badly by this guy that, like, when her friends came to identify her, they couldn't recognize her. I'm gonna get a little bit graphic right here, but it's just to give you an idea of how bad it was without getting into more details. One of her eyes had been dislodged from the socket, and the socket had been broken 12 times. So, like, I've heard tales of coyotes, but I don't know if those are true stories or not. I'm mildly skeptical. But that doesn't mean no. So, all the cool kids are here, yes. I kidnap them thrice a week. Make them listen to me talk about whatever I want to talk about. Today it's the Central Park 5. So yeah, so I'm not gonna get any more into what happened to her. I like focusing on the victim more than anyone else generally, but because she doesn't remember what happened, thank goodness, and because the stuff that happened that is relevant to the story is exceedingly horrific, I don't really want to focus on that. But I will tell you that she was a very successful investment banker on Wall Street. She had a very nice apartment. I believe she lived with her boyfriend. And judging just on the route that she jogged, I guess every night, like presumably every night. She must have been in really good shape because I can't imagine running that long. Like, it wouldn't happen. And I know if you are a runner, it'll look like laughably short, I'm sure. But to non-runners, no thank you. I'm pretending to be cool. To be not cool. Got it. Coyotes are medium dog size in my experience. Yeah, but there's not a lot of easy ways to get to the middle of Manhattan as a wild animal. I'm not saying that there are no coyotes. I have heard stories of coyotes, but I have not heard confirmation of coyotes. I was thinking predator animals tend to track blood. Yeah. And also that, honestly, just the fact that she survived is, and had no damage from wild animals is a solid argument against wild animals being there. I think the wildest it gets is the alligators in the sewers. And the rats. Never underestimate the rats. But yeah. So jogging is harder than running according to the 80s. Well, that's when this is. And like, let's not even get into jazzercise and step aerobics. There are lots of coyotes that show up in Orange County. My aunt had one of her dogs taken by a coyote, and she lives in like a populated neighborhood, like not near the wilderness. There was a movie about the wolves off Wall Street. Very funny. My friend Tyler lived on the Upper West Side for a decade. He's from Corvallis, Oregon. He has definitely seen coyotes in the city. Really? Alright. I won't argue with anyone who's actually seen them. Like, all the stories that I've heard are, like, total hearsay. So, but if you know someone who's actually seen them, then I will believe them over my skepticalness. But so yeah, so there was that group of white-tailed deer. White-tailed deer sound adorable. I know that, like, if you live near a place where deer like to come in the winter, or in general, like, it's very annoying and not adorable. But I do not live in one of those places. I am just dropping everything tonight. Can confirm, re-OC. Yeah. The coyotes will steal a small dog from a human's arms when desperate enough. Oh yeah. I've heard some scary shit. Okay. So there was the big group of teenagers running around causing mayhem. I heard a noise, but I don't know what it was. Hydrate, Jellyman Kelly. I missed it 5 minutes ago, but I did just drink water. So, hopefully that counts. I apologize to the Jellyman. But yeah, so this group of giant kids, this giant group of kids is running around Central Park, just, you know, not attacking, but like harassing, just random people. Multiple joggers complained about them, like people just hanging out in the park complained about them, the tandem bikers that we all hate complained about them. Like, yeah, so it's established that this group was definitely in the park causing trouble. And the boys who are featured in this story admit to being a part of the group and causing trouble. Like, they openly admit to the bad things that they did do that night. It's 10 p.m. and I'm still on coffee. Samuelin, do you have ADHD? Or are you just not going to sleep tonight? Is it 10 p.m. already? Wow. Okay. We are at the start of the story, and we are an hour in. All right. That's my brand. Looks like I'm gonna be... I might still be announcing Thursday's theme instead of continuing this theme. We'll see. So yeah, so the group of boys has kind of like dispersed into multiple smaller groups of like a dozen boys each. And some of these groups get intercepted by police. There's one group in particular where they bring in about 20 boys from that group. I believe in you, Dan. Thank you, Armac. But both things are true. Yeah. I have ADHD. I had my MRI today for the seizures and celebrated with a strong cup of tea tonight. That sounds lovely, Ruffle Iron. I say it is my dad paying a visit as he loved white-tailed deer and hunted, but only 2 weeks out of the year, depending on if he got it. Oh. I don't know that I've ever seen deer in person. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen deer in person. Pretty sure not. I could be wrong. So, is that weird that I've never seen a deer? Sorry.
What?
Yeah, I can't think of when I would have ever seen one. So, I have deer on my property daily. Well, you live in Oregon.
I've seen deer like tons of times.
Everyone's seen deer except for me. I get it.
Apparently.
You see deer in person by looking out my window. Drive a car in northern Minnesota. See deer, occasional moose. I hear moose are way bigger than you think.
Yes, they are massive.
Yeah. I've never seen a moose either. That I'm aware of.
This is their shoulder.
Yeah, that's about what I've heard.
Their head's about there.
Yeah. I've heard that it's, like, wild how giant they are. They look more delicious than they taste anyway. Maybe the deer are just shy and like me too. That's probably it, Armac. My uncle here in Reno has them in his yard all the time too. I've seen many deer. Oh my gosh, y'all, I get it. You've seen deer. I feel very neglected by the deer, and the deer will love you. They're terrifying in person? Or moose? Moose are terrifying in person. You should look in it. Aw, Ruffle Iron Chef. You sweetie. If I look in the mirror, there's a chance I'll see Bloody Mary, though. And I can't take that chance.
Speaking of deer randomly running through the road, when I was around 11 or 12, I believe, my family saw a few deer standing by the side of the road, and we stopped for some reason. I don't remember exactly why, but the deer got spooked, I think by a passing car or something, and they all three, mama and two, what's a fawn? That's right. It was a mom and two fawns.
Two Bambis.
Yes, two Bambis decide to run across the road without looking both ways.
No.
Mama and one of them got through just fine. The other one got hit by a semi-truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, another good reason I'm glad that I can't remember visually.
Yeah.
Fawn and foal, fawn and foal, thank you. I don't remember which ones are which, but yeah.
Fawn is a female deer. And,
Foal is male.
And foal is a baby deer.
No, doe is a female deer.
Well, they both are.
But fawn is a baby female deer.
Ray, a drop of golden stuff.
Yes. Yeah, the deer, unfortunately, for...
Foal is baby horse, that's right.
That's right, okay.
Baby deer is Bambi. Sorry, my bad. This is a science podcast where we take things of science very seriously. I said podcast instead of live stream.
It's because you take it very seriously.
Because I take it very seriously, yes. If you showed up late, I am trying to work out how to do dreads for the very first time ever. So that's what's going on over here in Dannyland.
Yes, I did.
Oh.
That's a bit of an understatement. I also, at one point when I was driving, this is vaguely related, I was at one point driving home at like 1 a.m. I was working at Petco at the time. I was driving home at like 1 a.m., midnight, something like that, and because I lived out in the boondocks in Alabama.
I heard there are saints there.
Yes. I was driving home. There's no lights or anything like that. The only lights on the road are my headlights. And a horse decided to just walk out in the middle of the road right in front of me. And hit the horse at 40 miles an hour. Both the car and the horse were totaled, so to speak.
Thanks.
So, yeah. Ungulates and I apparently don't interact well, which is unfortunate. I had to walk, I think, about a mile home because this was before cell phones were everywhere and I didn't have one. And they just stormed into my parents' house and basically shouted, "I hit a horse!" And my parents were upstairs, like half asleep, and my mom just wakes up bleary-eyed, comes down and said, "You didn't hit a horse. I hit a fucking horse." And we drove to the scene of the accident. We get out, we walk over, there's a dead horse and right in front of my totaled car. He goes, "Ah, you hit a horse."
There's an episode of Gilmore Girls where Rory's car gets hit by a deer, I think. And they're like, "You hit a deer with your car?" And she's like, "No, a deer hit my car." like literally, like she's just stopped at a stop sign and then it like hits the side, like as it's running.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, do you want to change so that it's just one big shot?
Yeah, I can do that.
While I'm doing this? Okay. So they have okay, what was it? What scene? Did I reference a scene?
Of Gilmore Girls.
Oh, Gilmore Girls. Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, of course, you get it, Cal. You always get it. It's a classic. But yeah, so. Okay. So the police arrest a group of about 20 boys. Like, they all, like, scattered when the police showed up, obviously. But the police were still able to arrest about 20 of them. And I think there were 3 in this group that wind up becoming the Central Park 5. And one of the 3, Kevin, who's like, there's a Netflix miniseries called When They See Us, and I really recommend it. It's really good, although it's not a documentary. It is like based upon type thing. Although they stuck to it as close as they can, it's still not a documentary, you know. But if you have any interest in this case after tonight, I recommend watching it. It's very good, and the performances are fantastic, and will make you cry. Okay. So the little one, Kevin, like Kevin and Raymond Santana were both 14, but like Kevin was a little baby, like a little precious baby. Not that Raymond wasn't, but Kevin looked much younger than 14. He looked like he was like 12. And apparently, when the cop was arresting Kevin, he hit him on the side of the face. The cop later denied it, of course. And left like a scratch and a bruise, which is important later, unfortunately. And so... Oh, no space, Page Lars. Thank you. So yeah. So they've brought those boys in, and they're basically like, you're gonna get tickets for disturbing the peace, etc. But like, we'll call your parents and they can come pick you up and you can go home. See you in a minute, Samuelin. So yeah. So they have them in, they're processing them, contacting their parents, etc. And at the same time, the cops are arresting another group, and the two more of the boys who become the Central Park Five are in that group. And that is Antron and Yusef. Corey is the other one. And all of the men have said that the story, it shouldn't be the Central Park 5, it should be the Central Park 4+1, because Corey's experience is just completely different from everyone else's. And it starts off with the fact that he wasn't even there. He was in Central Park like earlier in the night, and then like was like, oh, it's getting late, I should go home, like, you know, curfew. Like, he was a really good kid. I think he might have had some sort of mental delay. Like, that's definitely the impression that I get, but I don't know what, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to diagnose him. Yeah. So Corey's not even there at this point. But right when they are getting ready to kind of like process the boys and send them home, word comes in about the discovery of the Jogger. And for her identity, so like there was, I think, one newspaper that like outed her identity and they got like severely reprimanded for it. But in general, it's just called the Central Park Jogger case. Although her name is Trisha.
And she has openly stated that.
She wrote a book.
Volunteered that at this point.
Yeah. At this point, she has come out. She came out with her identity in 2003, I think.
Yeah.
And has since written a book. I watched an interview with her from, I think, 2009. And oh my god, that woman, I'm astounded. Like, and I think part of why she's so healthy about it is because she can't remember it, and she acknowledges that, and she acknowledges how lucky she is and how grateful she is that she can't remember any of it. But yeah, so the word comes in that they discovered this woman, and so the cops are like, well, we got a bunch of brown and black boys here, so we might as well hold them because, you know, they might be involved. Because racism. So, I think... No, okay. So they start coercing confessions out of these boys. And, like, just...
Trying to get to one of them. Trying to get to the ones that are still open so I can close them.
Oh. Dog pink, man. I know, right?
Yeah, it's configured so whatever the word after dog is, it puts that right after precious. So, you know, it could be dog paint, or dog shoe, or dog violence.
Yes, she protects the violence.
Are you telling me I'm wrong?
The police never coerce confessions. I know, it's a shock. But,
Perfect.
That's so fucking funny. And I love every bit of it, Raffle Iron. Every bit of it.
She's like a parrot. You put something over her head, she immediately calms down. Okay, maybe not.
Oh, she heard you. Okay. So they start working on getting confessions out of these boys. And like, God, it's so disgusting. Like, obviously any sort of coercion is gross. But like, it's things like the way that they read them their rights. They read them their rights really, really quickly, rush through it, don't actually ask anything along the lines of like so they're basically like, you have the right to a lawyer, da da da, like, and then they keep moving. Like, they don't ask, would you like a lawyer? You know, like, they don't actually explain what that means. Like, they're like, you understand? And they were like, yeah, you know, because like, when someone's talking to you like that, you're not gonna be like, no, can you repeat that? You know? So yeah. So they grill these boys for hours, overnight. And have them so confused. What are the scripts on Smeagol's stream? Her very own stream that she totally has, that I'm not making up right now.
I mean, we should probably give her one.
I mean, she kind of has one, and it's this one.
Yeah.
I'm like this side. Like, I'm the entertainment on the side. I get it.
You're
I'm the stand-up
ASMR.
comedian who warms up the crowd.
I wish y'all could see what I'm seeing here.
Alright. We're getting to the point where we're gonna find out if this works or not. This is Bay's stream. Yeah. Exactly the same. So, they keep these boys pretty much overnight. And the boys who get coerced into confessing are basically the boys whose parents don't show up immediately. And it's because they're at work. Like, it's not like they're like neglectful parents or anything. It's because they're at work. So they take advantage of the fact that these boys don't have their guardian, even though they are legally required to have the kids' guardians there. And basically wind up getting these coerced confessions. And like, it's very clear that the boys have no idea what the police are talking about. Like, they don't know. They get like the location wrong. They get every possible detail wrong. Isn't the court required to appoint a guardian?
I'd like to.
Yeah. I believe like if the guardian isn't there, eventually the guardians do show up, but even then they're still being shady about it. Like, what's his name? Raymond Santana, like, his dad has to leave to go to work, and so his grandma stays, but his grandma didn't know English. So, like, how is she gonna be like, oh, that's, you know, you can't ask that, you know? And, like, even when the parents are there, it's, like, no one understands what's going on because it's not being made clear to them what's going on. Like, they are all under the impression that the boys are being considered witnesses. Like, they don't understand until it's too late what's really happening. And at one point, Raymond Santana's dad basically orders him to confess, like, and is like, just tell them what they want to hear, and then, like, you can go home, and this will be over with, you know. And Raymond says that to this day he still hasn't forgiven his dad, which I think is sad but understandable. And there's so Oprah did a thing for the miniseries when it came out, where she interviewed the cast, the director, the producer, and then the actual men. And the actor who plays Raymond's dad, has these, I'm pretty sure, is it Raymond's dad? Oh, it might be a different dad. I'm pretty sure it's Raymond's dad. Anyway, he has these, like, scars on his face, and in the interview, he says that he grew up in New York City at this time, and that he was, like, running around and everything. Like, he was, you know, misbehaving youth, etc. And he has these big scars on his face, and he says that he got those scars from wilding. I think he was in Luke Cage also. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was in Luke Cage. But yeah, so they get 3 of the boys to sign confessions. The only one there who doesn't is Yusef, because his mom shows up and stops them before he does. And like Yusef was like, "Mom, I'm cooperating, like it's fine, you know." But she was like, "No, we're going home right now," because she's a badass lady. And so later on the next day, the cops show up at Yusef's apartment to take him in for more questioning. And with him is his friend Corey. And the police are basically only saying Adele in the police station, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know what to think. Like, she definitely has her issues, but she's, a badass woman who definitely took no shit during this, which I really admire, considering how vulnerable she was in the situation. The fact that she, like, never broke, you know? So yeah. So they go to get Yusef, and then they see, so Corey's there, and they basically just invite Corey down to the station. In the miniseries, they say something along the lines of like, "Do you want to keep an eye on your friend?" And Corey was like a really, really good kid, and so he was like, "Oh yeah, your mom would be really upset if I let you go alone," you know? And so he goes down with him. I don't know if that's actually how it went down, but something along those lines, I'm sure, is what happened. So he goes down to the police station, and they start questioning him. Even though he's not a witness, they say that they're going to be questioning him like a witness, right? And, like, you can find his complete confession on YouTube, because all of the confessions were taped. So you can find Corey's, you can definitely find Raymond's, I think you can find Kevin's. I don't know about Antron and Yusef. But, like, you can see, like, he's being coerced, and all that he wants is to, like, make this woman happy. He's, like, he's basically like, "Oh, yeah, totally, you know? Like, absolutely, yes, definitely." You know, like, agreeing with her and wanting to, like, make her happy and everything, and, like, making up details that don't fit with the story, and, you know, like, they don't stop because of the wrong details. Why would they? And just the manipulation, and it's so upsetting. Like I said, I really recommend watching When They See Us, and they do a very good job of showing this scene where he's being coerced. So they've told all the boys, of course, they've told all the boys the usual, like, all you need to do is confess, and then, you know, like, and then you can go home. And the boys are exhausted, and they just want to go home. and they're between 14 and 16 years old. And, you know, so they basically say whatever it is that the police want to hear just so that they can leave. The only one that was technically legally questioned, although at this point I think some of the parents have shown up, like a lot of the parents clearly don't understand what's going on. So because Corey's 16, he is legally considered an adult by the city of New York. So he doesn't need to have his parents there, which sucks because he's the one who wasn't even fucking there. Like, well, none of them were there, but like he wasn't even in the park at that time. And also so the condition that she was in a coma for a while. So when they were questioning these boys, they didn't actually know all the details. They only had like the physical evidence on her to go with. Like, they didn't know how long she'd been out there for sure. They didn't know like what time she'd left her apartment and therefore like what time she'd been attacked. And when they found out all of those things, they found out that like the boys were on the complete other side of the park at the time. Like, there's no way that they could have done it. Did they let that stop them from taking it to trial though? Don't be ridiculous. Of course they didn't. And yeah. So, and like the boys were super forthcoming with like all of the actual bad stuff that they'd done that night. Like, they admitted to bothering the people on the bikes and the joggers and everything. Like, they were not trying to hide anything. They were all really good boys.
Yeah, it's a larger park. That's one way of understating it.
It's...
Okay. I have
It's
been at the corner of it.
Yeah, Rude Ricky, we're going to that. Don't worry, we'll get to it.
I've been at the corner of Central Park, and at one point I looked down. Down the road, and I could kind of see the end of it. And then I realized I was looking at the short end.
The short end actually isn't that big. It's only half a mile.
Right, but it's like half a mile. I'm like, okay, I can see the end of this. Oh wait, this is the short length of it. You look down the long way, you can't see the end of the park, even though it's flat. You can't see the end of the park. Like, it goes to a vanishing point.
I want to say it's 3.5 miles long, but I'm not positive. Don't quote me on that. That
is
seems
approximately right.
That might be right, though. I want to say that's what it is.
It's a narrow rectangle, and the short side of it is like, you look at that and you're like, yeah, I could walk that in about 10 minutes, maybe 20. Like probably 15, 20 minutes to walk the short end.
Yeah. Well, like, the widest part of Manhattan Island is only like, or the narrowest part, sorry, not the narrowest. The widest part is, I think, 2.5 miles wide. Yeah. Like, Manhattan itself is extremely narrow.
Yeah, you can easily walk from one side of Manhattan to the other. You don't want to do that if you're in a hurry. One
of my healing goals is to walk the length of Manhattan. It's only 13.5 miles, which is like, you know, a day at a Comic-Con.
Basically,
less than.
If you walk from the southern tip to the northern tip of Manhattan and back, that is a marathon.
Yes. So yeah. So they didn't know exactly what time everything had happened, so they were just kind of guessing. And that made it a lot easier for them to be like, oh, these are obviously real confessions. And, you know, lie to themselves.
Okay, so I just looked it up. It's 2.5 miles tall.
2.5
half a mile wide.
Yeah. Okay. 2.5, not 3.5. I walked the full length of the park, not realizing how long it would take me. I had to get a cab to meet up with my friends on time. Oh, yeah, it'll surprise you. And especially if you are in the park, all of the paths are twisting. So it's not just 2.5 miles if you're in the park. So this is all in the northern part of the park because the boys all live in Harlem at the time. And so yeah. So they arrest the boys, and 4 of the boys go to a juvenile center, but because Corey is technically considered an adult, he goes to Rikers.
Correct, Willie Gus.
5-1 proportions. That sounds, yeah.
Yes, I mean, that is exactly right. Like, I'm sure it's not, like, it's probably like 4.998 to 1 or something, but yeah.
I'm making dreads for the first time. Anyone who showed up late. So this is Rikers is the most fun prison on earth. Yeah, that's actually its tagline, motto thing. It's like the small font on the sign that says "Welcome to Rikers, the most fun prison on earth." So if you're not familiar with Rikers,
like, I'm assuming you were joking about that.
Oh, very much.
Okay.
Very, very much. If you are not familiar with Rikers, Rikers is one of the, like...
Oh, I know.
Worst jails in the country.
I know that.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if, like, they actually put that up there, because that's some...
Oh,
like,
that would be funny if they did.
it would be fucking disturbing. That's, like, along the lines... Not anywhere near as bad, but it's along the lines of work will set you free kind of shit. It's like, Jesus. But, okay. Yeah, you understand why I was... Because, like, it wasn't that unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was astounding, but, like, I still had to ask.
So, yeah, so Rikers is one of the worst prisons in the country, I would say. Like, it's way up there. And it is... Yeah, and they've... the COVID has gone nuts there. They got hit... It took them a couple months to get hit, but I remember when it finally happened and got announced and being like, oh my god. Just, especially because most of the people who are in prison there are just waiting for their trial and they can't afford bail. Like, Rikers has a lot of innocent people staying there. But they sent Corey there, a child. Even though he's legally an adult, he's a fucking child. Especially, like, mentally, like, he's a child. Emotionally, etc. Yeah. And the thing is, if you go to prison on a rape charge, you are not gonna have a good time. There's the only thing that you will have less fun of a time for is if you do a crime against a child. Other than that, rape is about the worst time you're gonna have there.
Ricky said to rhetorical priorities, man, it took hundreds of years to get slaves back. Can't shut that down. The only part of that that's incorrect is it didn't take hundreds of years. It was pretty much immediate. Yeah, it's Rhetorical said, cool, saw the traffic outside with the scene change.
I thought they were going to bulldoze Rikers to expand the airport, but this is America. Check out our awesome priorities. They often talk about closing it. They've been talking about it again, but I'll be surprised if it ever actually happens, unfortunately. But yeah, so let's see. Just letting JR fly around. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second while I make sure that this is good. At 16, I was nowhere near close to being an adult. Oh, same. At 18, I wasn't even an adult. Yep. I'm 32, or question, I'm adult. Yeah, 33, same. Like the kid who died in there after 3 years and was never officially charged. Yeah. They call it the justice system because it's just us white people. So Joshua Jackson is in the miniseries, and I don't know if he was a producer as well, but
eating the fucking napkin.
Getting closer to 40 and more comfortable with calling yourself an adult. Oh, okay, that's good to know that that's about when that happens. So. Like a hot 41. So Corey had a really, really bad time. None of them had a good time, but Corey definitely had the worst of it. The rest of them were in I believe the same juvenile center, and then some of them were in the same prison when they aged out of the juvenile center. So they had each other there for support. And they all said that they had no idea just how bad Corey had it until they watched the miniseries when it came out. That's when they found out. Because all of them were like close consultants on the film. Ava DuVernay, I think is how you pronounce her last name. DuVernay? She worked hard on it, and you could tell. Plot ages more slowly, like a fine wine, like Colin Firth. By the time I thought of myself as an adult, I was in the war. Hello, alien sock puppy. Did you do that?
No. The alien sock puppy changed their. You don't remember that got mentioned on the audio stream last night?
Oh, I must have missed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Audie turned him into a puppy. Makes sense. Alright, y'all. I think Salt Dragon is done too.
Is one eye bluer than the other?
I just realized that, yeah. I did a little more. That's fine. So yeah. So Corey was sent to Rikers and had an awful time. They were sentenced to different prison lengths as well, and they wound up serving different prison sentences as well. And just to keep on heaping up the massive injustices here, Corey served the longest. He served 13 years. But yeah, Joshua Jackson was in the Oprah interview, and she asked him, what's the big... He plays one of the lawyers for the boys. Are there photos of the finished Funkos that you could post on Instagram? I meant to do that the other night, and I didn't actually get around to it, but I will be doing that at some point in the near future. Tag the recipients and whatnot. Yeah, that's the plan. After talking to JR and telling him that he has one in the works, I was like, oh, I should post all the ones that are done. So that is definitely a plan that will happen. Okay. Oh, yeah, so Joshua Jackson, Oprah asked him, what's the biggest thing that you learned making this? what is your main takeaway? And he's like, that the justice system is not. And I'm like, yeah. It takes a little while for white guys to learn that, but when they eventually do, you know, that's pretty rad. But yeah, so they wind up having 2 trials and are all found guilty, which is ridiculous because they had no evidence. Like, they had, they found semen on some of Trisha's clothes, and it was definitively not a match for any of the boys, but the prosecutor didn't care. She was determined, and this is something that the mini-series goes really hard on, is how awful the lead prosecutor was. And, like, she built a career on the case. Like, and so the mini-series coming out, seriously fucking I love. Like, she had to leave her job at Columbia, her publisher dropped her, like, all this stuff. Like, she built her entire career on prosecuting 5 innocent boys. So I have no sympathy for her whatsoever. And, like, there were so many different times that she could have been like, oh, I'm wrong, and walked away, and she didn't. So that's why, like, no. You deserve all the bad things that you get. So, okay. Who has seen it? Oh my gosh. You met Joshua Jackson. He came into your friend's motorcycle coffee shop about 5 years back. He seems really nice. Watch Indisputable 3 times and you'll learn quickly how unfair the criminal justice system is. Yeah, definitely. I'm adding to my list of Brett saying I'm as big of a name dropper as him. It's funny. Okay. So.
Yeah, I'm proud of myself a little bit.
Yep, I know. That's why I didn't ask if you were proud of yourself. I know you were waiting for me to ask, but I didn't have to.
Yeah, I know.
You can do a dab. Okay. So, like, in the coercion of the confessions, they did things like tell the boys that they'd found their DNA or their fingerprint. One of them told the boys that they'd found his fingerprint on her pants. Like, what? You're not even trying. You know? That doesn't make sense. But he freaked out. He was like, how do you have my fingerprint on her pants? How could that have happened? And so it's just like the West Memphis 3 case, where they told Jesse that they had a machine that could read his brain, and it told them that he was lying. And he was like, wait, the machine can read my brain? I didn't know I was lying, but the machine says that I'm lying, so what am I lying about? And starts making up shit to try and just, like, figure out what he's lying about. I might need a paint in there, my love. Unless I left it here, that would have been nice of me. Haha, I did. Okay. In the earlier 90s, DNA exoneration was a thing. DNA sequencing was used in the first conviction in 1987. I'm reading, which was overturned. Yeah, DNA took a while to be a thing. It wasn't until the OJ case that DNA became, like, not just, like, accepted, but, like, known. Like, people weren't aware of DNA. And so it took a little while. But the fact, even at this time, they should have had, like, a match. It wasn't, like, gonna say, like, it's definitely this kid, but it would have been able to say it's someone with this blood type, right? And none of the boys had that blood type. Like, that's how the DNA evidence was used here. So it wasn't the way it is now, for sure.
And blood type is extremely easy to check. You don't even need an understanding of DNA. You don't have to be aware of DNA to do a blood type check. It's a simple chemical process.
Yeah. But like early DNA tests mostly focused on blood type, just because that was the easiest thing to tell.
It's weird that they would do that though, because
thanks,
like
OJ.
it doesn't give you any more information than just doing a blood type check.
Yeah.
So.
So they had these things coerced confessions. Obviously, none of the boys could afford bail, so they all went to prison while they waited for two different trials, and they were all found guilty. And it's so ridiculous. Like, they had no proof. Evidence was circumstantial at best.
Thank you, Rhetorica.
With the diarrhea?
No, with the job thing.
Oh, with the job thing. That makes more sense.
But I like where your brain went, and by that I mean I hate where your brain went.
I mean, it would have been nice to wish you luck with the diarrhea.
I would rather someone just wish me not diarrhea.
That's fair. So the boys all went to prison. 4 of them were in prison together. Corey was in Rikers alone. He got jumped by a bunch of prisoners like his first week in Rikers and was put in solitary, like, to protect him.
So yeah, Rude Ricky also went to the same... Rude Ricky's brain went to the same place yours did.
Awesome.
Rhetorica says, why not both? And Roth Iron Chef was kind and wished me not diarrhea.
Aw.
So now Paige Lars and Roth Iron Chef are fighting, I think.
That's fine.
That's right?
That's cool. Fight. Okay.
Paige Lars, circumstantial evidence against a black person is not a guilty verdict. An accusation against a black person is a guilty verdict.
Yeah.
The circumstantial evidence is
just bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Circumstantial evidence determines whether or not they go to trial or accept a plea bargain.
Yeah. And this was there are a lot of parallels with the West Memphis 3 here, even though this was before the West Memphis 3. And a big part of it is that the police were under so much pressure to solve this because everyone felt unsafe and wanted to feel safe again. And they wanted it solved, and they wanted whoever did it behind bars. So they originally decided it was more than one attacker, based on like preliminary evidence. And even later on, when evidence showed that it was actually just one attacker, they still didn't change their course of attack and prosecution. Like, they were just, once they decided what the theory was, it didn't change. Just like West Memphis 3.
No, I mean, Paige Lars, a lot of times just an accusation is often enough to end up,
Emmett
like,
Till,
saying,
Black Wall
like,
Street.
Yeah, just like, we're going to accuse you of this, and that's our evidence. We can take this to trial, or you can, like, take a plea deal and only get 2 years in prison. Okay, yeah, you're going to take 2 years in prison because you don't want to risk going in front of a racist-ass jury.
Well, all of the boys refused a plea deal because they were like, no, we didn't do it. And all of them could have gotten out of prison sooner if they had said that they did it. Like at the parole hearings, that was the only thing that disqualified them from parole, was that they would not accept responsibility for it. Even Corey, who was having, like, he just stopped going to the parole hearings because he's like, there's no point. They won't do anything unless I admit that I did something that I didn't do. So why would I go?
Yeah. More power to them, personally, in that situation of, like, we'll let you go so you can get back to your life if you just say these magic words.
Yeah.
I'm personally, I'm going to make the decision to say the words they want me to say.
Yeah.
That does not mean that I think they should have done that. I'm just saying, like, that would be my decision.
Yeah. Which is fair.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, if it was like, we'll let you out a year early out of, like, 10, I was like, we'll let you after 9 instead of after 10 if you just say you did it.
Yeah.
And saying I did it meant that, like, I couldn't go after them later for something, blah, 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 then maybe I probably wouldn't. Like, it depends on the exact circumstances.
Could be worse, could be wishing you peace. That is a good point. Battle Royale. I just mean in the justice system, I guess not necessarily an accusation. True, but into Black Wall Street. Yes. I'm soft, I'll say whatever they want me to say if it will get me out early. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know what I would do, honestly.
That doesn't necessarily make you soft, just pragmatic.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be a chance for me to prove my innocence later. I would rather get back to my life now rather than waste another year in prison. And it means I can, like, get on with things. Like, making that decision can be entirely pragmatic.
Yeah. Definitely.
But I wouldn't be able to vote, and that would be the end of liberal democracy. Not a liberal, but I know that's not what you meant.
So, yeah. So...
And that's fair. You may be making the decision also because you're soft. I'm just saying that that decision could be made for a multitude of reasons. One of which is being soft, another one is being pragmatic. Alien Sock Puppy isn't an alien. Or no, wait. The puppet went away, not the alien. I don't know why I got that confused. Like, the words are on the screen in front of me, and I still saw Alien Sock Puppy, and it's like, not an alien anymore. It's a puppy now. Yeah.
I think you've just been too focused on Spiegel, which is, there's no such thing.
Hi, Julian. Julian said pragmatic equals soft, but I digress. I get the feeling you're mostly joking there, but I don't think that being pragmatic necessarily equals soft.
It depends on the context.
Yeah. Sometimes being pragmatic it can be an extremely hard decision. For instance, if you've got to make the decision of, like, there's a car or a train trolley problem. Like, someone has to make a decision. No matter what decision you make, it's a hard decision, but it is a pragmatic decision. Being soft might be just like, I'm not going to stop the train even though it's going to hit, 5 people, but I can save 4 of them, or I can save those by hitting someone else, but I'm scared of doing that. That's not really pragmatic, that's soft. So I think pragmatic and soft can be opposites.
I'm going to be leaning back again if you want to switch the camera. Contrapoint. Not making a decision is the ultimate fuck you to God.
I mean, I'm always a big fan of a fuck you to God.
This is a fact. Alright, y'all. I'm gonna start trying to sculpt.
That actually looks.
It looks good from a distance. It does not look good up close.
That's fair, but most Funko Pops, people don't use microscopes on them.
It won't work on its own. I would.
Oh yeah, I don't mean it'll work on its own. I just mean like as a base, that looks fantastic.
Oh, yes, thank you. All right. So yeah. So here's the Dread base. So now we're gonna see how I am at sculpting them. Ooh. Funkos are not high resolution. They actually make 8-bit Funkos. That's the thing.
And oddly enough, because it's analog, 8-bit is actually a higher resolution than like the soft, like rounded version. Like it looks more high resolution. To me, anyway.
I just found out before the stream that God is alive, and I'm pretty sure God is dead. Is God is Alive a band?
I'm not sure.
Because that's an odd sentiment to hear from Paige. That God is alive.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like hearing from Paige that God is dead. I'm like, yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's in character.
It's almost like a total. It's like Paige Lars said that God is dead. That's a tautology.
Okay. Here we go.
Speaking of tautologies, I was talking to someone recently on the internet about the definition of like correct usage of a word.
Mm-hmm.
They were asking about whether or not they listen to Gallic group, and they're asking like, I'm seeing a lot of people spell this particular word this way, even though like every other version I've seen has like it spelled this other way. Like all the official like dictionaries and stuff have spelled one way. All the people they've seen talking spelled another way.
Mm-hmm.
Paige Lara said, no, Ravana was watching a Jim Baker stream and he claimed he was alive. I'm like, no, and then saw you went live. Perfect. It's like no, God is dead. Blue Lizard's Guts has started streaming. Perfect.
Blue Lizard Guts is God?
So they said like all the people I'm seeing like native speakers are spelling it one way, but the dictionaries are spelling it another way. It's like, are the people who are speaking it right, or is the dictionary right? And I'd explain basically, it's like, the definition of correct is literally what people are actually saying. The spelling people actually used is correct. In fact, it's not even, like, correct isn't the definition, or what people actually use isn't the definition of correct. That's a tautology. What people use is correct because that means the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The dictionary, if the dictionary doesn't match how people use the language, the dictionary is wrong. So dictionaries follow the language usage. They don't determine language usage.
Yeah. Language is determined by the users, not the scholars.
Yeah. And that's a large reason. Like, up until the 1700s, I think, singular they was extremely commonplace.
Yeah.
The dictionary is wrong if it disagrees with people. Yes. Up until the 1700s, singular they was extremely common. It's in multiple versions of the Bible. And it was only some grammarians in the 1700s that started yelling at everyone. The singular they was no longer allowed.
Dictionaries are written by nerds that don't touch grass. Look, I'm a nerd that doesn't touch grass, okay? I mean, not the kind that, like, grows in lawns.
Yes, the OED is very well researched and maintained. That's not a criticism of dictionaries in general. That's just like, and it has the exact same disclaimer. That's because it's a fundamental principle of good linguists is descriptivism, not prescriptivism. In other words, we just go and look at how it's used, and that's the definition, because the purpose of the dictionary is for someone who doesn't know a word to open up the dictionary and know what someone else meant by a word they said.
Today I posted a meme about fuck linguistic purity.
Yeah.
So if you follow my memes there, it's in there.
Samuel said, A, I found the mouse, and we are definitely infested, so that's fun.
Ooh, we'll find
B, I'm back for reals. I decided to shower real quick. That is fair. You are allowed to use water for that purpose.
And you smell so nice now.
Presumably. We don't have smell-o-vision yet.
He doesn't have some.
Oh no. Ralph Ironstuff said, that's because good linguists know what they don't know, which is mostly everything. Usually. Yeah, not only that, but like they know that the dictionary will become out of date because that is its purpose. To over time become incorrect. Otherwise they're out of job.
Yeah.
Paige Lars said
and humanity is dead.
Yes. Paige Lars said to Rhetoriku, I don't know what I necessarily believe, but I have never been one to condemn people and believe a lot of things most Christians don't believe. I think for me, I want to believe I will see my dad again. Completely understandable. And that is a good reason to believe things.
I mean, I've told y'all before, I'm an optimistically agnostic deist. Which basically just means organized religion makes me extremely uncomfortable, but I want to believe that there's a higher power and some sort of afterlife, etc., or reincarnation, or whatever. I want to believe that I'm going to see my loved ones again, just like Paige Lars said. I forget who described language as an iceberg, and the part we can see is everything that has ever been written. Yeah.
Paige Lars, I would never want to ruin that. That is honestly a good reason to believe something. It gives you the ability to look forward, and I think that's important. Samuel said, as the only person who does anything in this house, an annoying night where my partner decided he doesn't want to be a dad because he worked all day. They usually don't ever get longer frequent showers.
I have strong feelings and opinions about that, but I'm not going to say any of them because it's not my business.
Ralph Iron said, especially since prescriptivism is so often used as a form of aggression between classes and groups. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is the kind of like the only purpose of prescriptivism, because it says the people who are speaking the language are wrong. These other people get to tell you what to do. Like that's not how any of this works. The people who are speaking the language are gonna keep speaking it the way they want to speak it, and you just like the people who use the dictionary just won't understand them. Prescriptivism is just non-functional, and the entire point of it is to separate and isolate classes and groups, as well as to kind of like tell people or try to force behavior and thought patterns on people, which just doesn't work.
What song is playing? The purpose of faith is comfort when facing the unknown. I love that. That's exactly right. Yeah, the purpose of religion is control. Yes. Agreed.
Don't know what the last song was. The playlist I can try to link to you. Hold on.
Or can we see recently played or something?
I can try.
Okay.
Maybe not.
It's called Fall Nights, but it's created by Twitch, and it's through like an extension that they have, because it's all like music that's licensed so that we can use it without any sort of copyright issue. Like that's just a thing that Twitch offers. It's sad because academics know this to be true, and yet we're still teaching our high school English teachers to code shit the boars to try to help them get into college instead of genuinely embracing linguistic diversity. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to write essays like the white kids.
And the thing is, you can try to teach a specific code, like a linguistic code, like when you're saying like code switching, like that's what I mean by code. You can teach a specific code for use in certain circumstances, as long as you don't go about telling people that you're wrong if you ever use any other code. So, you know, if you're saying like, we all need to practice how to write like proper business class English, and as long as you make it clear like this is for a specific purpose, and then like you also write you should also have like creative writing in your just native code or your native dialect. I think that it can be valuable to teach people a particular like official code, as long as it's not pushed on people as the right one.
Yeah.
But rather as like this is
the one that people will like you using.
But not even necessarily that, but just like this is a consistent core that we've all agreed on as having a specific meaning. So we all just agree to learn this one core so that we all have this one thing that we can all consistently communicate with. Mm-hmm. And then everything else is diversity so that we can all use that in order to effectively communicate whenever we have a gap, and like a gap between local microcultures.
Yeah. Doing white kids' essays is a means to an end, a tool. We may not like the reasons why the tool is useful. Yeah, it's basically like, this will get you hired by white people.
Yeah.
Which is something that should not be a thing that needs to be learned, but unfortunately, in the society that we live in, very much is.
What I think would be a better option, rather than just like white suburbanite code, teaching that, is teaching everyone. Having a core helps for standardized education, but and the other thing is having a central standardized version doesn't have to be used with the purpose of suppressing diversity. It doesn't have to be. It is used that way. And as long as it is being used that way, I'd rather we get rid of it than try to fix it. But if we could fix it, it'd be like, here's a core, and then we are also embracing diversity. That would be ideal. But I think instead of the current like white people speak that we use as the core, I think we should actually teach like
sorry, Willie Gus, that's very funny. Someone told Willie Gus that he sounded like he parked his Volvo at the end of his quarter-long mile driveway.
Wow.
That's so funny. I'm sorry. Like, it may not have been funny at the time, but that's a very funny insult.
As long as people abide by subject verb agreements daily speech, I'm fine. My grandparents, cousins, and extended family tell me to shove it whenever I'm a stickler about proper English. I mean, the thing is, like, the subject verb agreements, like, those aren't necessarily useful. Like, does it really matter if those are...
You still understand what's being said.
Yeah, I mean, if I say, you was going to go to the store, you still know exactly what I meant.
If I say you is kind, you is smart, you is important, you know what I'm saying.
Right. The only important thing about language, the only purpose that language has at all, is communication. If communication is being effectively accomplished, then you're using language correctly. Yeah. It's literally the definition of using language correctly. I understand why because trust me, I'm right there with you. It bothers me when people don't abide by subject-verb agreement.
Yeah, I've just stopped correcting people over
it.
Because that's pretentious and not my job or my business.
Yeah, so, like, I am right there with you. It irritates the hell out of me, but it's not something that I have any right to tell people to abide by, especially when it's not affecting their ability to communicate.
Yeah.
Sam Lynn said, I used to be like, why doesn't everyone know you're supposed to just listen to your boss and not speak up? Me now, fuck that. That's an old behaving concept that doesn't apply in today's world at all. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. That's like Mad Men bullshit.
Well, but here's the thing. It's like, they is doesn't work for you, but why doesn't it work for you? Because, like,
Because he's been successfully indoctrinated by the white kids.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Self-aware.
Although, actually, not the white kids. It's the white adults. It's the white old assholes that did it, not the white kids.
Basically, policing grammar is inherently classist and racist, and just don't do it.
It inherently contributes to it. Enforcing it doesn't necessarily, because you could enforce it in circumstances that don't include that, but generally speaking, it is. That's its general purpose.
Yes, I've seen stuff like that before, Page Lars.
There was a movie with 2 black actors, white chicks.
Yeah, that one.
So that it has some other problems, clearly, but like that's an example of quote unquote whiteface, but it's obviously nowhere near as harmful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jillian.
Okay, I'm gonna keep talking about the story so that we can talk about a different subject on Thursday. Not that I don't want to talk about this on Thursday, but I feel like I can get the rest of it done. Okay. So, they all went to trial. They were all found guilty, despite no actual evidence. And, like, they all say that, like, they were in total shock. Like, they could not imagine that that's what was gonna happen. And Corey was tried as an adult, which is why he was sent back to Rikers. And, like, if you see the 5 men now, like, what they're like now, you can tell which one of them had the worst time. Like, it is very, very clear when you just look at them. One of them clearly has a lot more damage than the other ones. And the fact that he survived it and got through it and is able to even function is amazing. So yeah, they served between 5 or 6 and 13 years in prison. Corey was the one who did 13 years, which again is absolutely ridiculous since he's the one who was not even in the park at the time. And had not been arrested or anything. But eventually they were released because they'd served their sentences. None of them ever agreed to admit that they'd done it, but they were all out. I believe. I'm pretty sure Corey was out in 2003. Wait, okay, so what's 1989, 13 years later is 2002?
Wait, 89? 2002, yeah.
Okay, so I guess Corey was still in prison when they found out who actually did it. So knocking down white people is not racism. No, it is not.
In the United States, normally I don't bother mentioning this, but that is specifically the case for countries where white people are primarily in power. If you go to Japan and they're mocking white people, where Japanese people are the ones who are in government, who are in the police, etc., that can be racism because the power lies not with the white people, but with people mocking the white people. But that's in Japan, that's not here. If you're talking about the United States, Canada, Europe, yes, you're absolutely right.
I think it's a matter of punching down or up.
Exactly. That's the nature of it.
Yeah. So, the 90s always messed with my rhythm. Yeah. Alright, so I think Corey might have actually still been in prison and the other ones had been released when, yeah, okay. So, Corey had refused to admit that he had done the thing that he hadn't done to the parole. And he wound up being, like, transferred out of solitary. And one day in the TV room, he had a fight with another prisoner named Mateus Ruiz, I believe. Australia and New Zealand too. That makes sense.
Yeah, there's several places. South
I
Africa.
don't know though, because Australia is in the Commonwealth.
Well, in terms of like white people being in charge and racism.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they're in the Commonwealth, so wouldn't that still have white people in the positions of power?
Yes, that's what Willie Gus is saying. Agreed.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like I thought that was being linked in with like Japan. Okay.
Oh
sorry.
no.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
The only one that was actually would be an interesting one to explore. This is more of a like intellectual, academic sense would be South Africa, just because after apartheid and the shifting of power, like how much has that power shifted, etc. Like it would be an interesting case study in the process, etc.
So, Pajarski did not confess right after, but he left the park and ran into a bunch of police officers immediately after committing the rape. Not only that, but like he definitely had blood on him because like the woman lost most of her blood. Like she should not have survived. And he also had her Walkman and was listening to it. And like, oh my god, the idea of going through Central Park at night with a Walkman on alone is just horrifying to me. And not victim blaming at all, but holy fuck. Like, that's brave. Like reckless bravery. But yeah, okay. So Corey got in a fight with this prisoner, Mateus Ruiz. And Mateus went to I think it was like his cellmate at first, and basically said like, I met someone who's serving time for a crime that I did and they don't know it. Like, what do I do? And what he wound up doing was he did like a full confession, like full graphic confession with details that even the police hadn't known, but that lined up. He knew things that none of the boys had known. He knew what the woman was wearing. He knew like where it had happened, what kind of injury she had, everything. Like it was very clear that he had actually done it. And so him coming forward and admitting that he had done it is what got Corey out. And let me tell you about what Donald Trump did, because I didn't get to that yet. When it was before the trials even happened, the boys were in custody, and Donald Trump spent almost $100,000 taking out full-page ads in newspapers around the city that said, bring back the death penalty, like, kill the Central Park 5 type thing. Why did you highlight that message?
Because I wanted to draw attention to the fact that I'm agreeing.
Oh, with Raffle Iron?
With Rhetorica.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, look at Elon Musk, Apple Tree, etc. But yeah, so
what's the phrase? Apple didn't fall too far from the stump.
Yeah. So Donald Trump took out full-page ads in these newspapers, spent almost $100,000 on it, saying that the death penalty needed to come back to kill these boys. And like I mentioned at the start of the stream, a lot of the media and everything, they were using very dehumanizing language, calling them a pack, calling them animals, calling Trish prey, you know, stuff like that. Like, basically, they'd just gone with the term wilding, and, like, some of the interviews that I watched said that, like, wilding wasn't even a thing. It was just something that the police, like, they did the thing, but the name wasn't a thing. Like, that was made up by the police. And one of the stories I heard was that, like, they had been singing Wild Thing while running around, and the police were like, oh, they're saying wilding. I don't know if that's actually true, but that is a story I saw. I think the saying is the apple is ripe with blood money and spoiling the barrel. Yeah. Yeah. It fits nicely on pillows. If we are going to bring the death penalty back, it needs to be for talking boy. But yeah, so they do a really good job with that in the When They See Us miniseries. Like, they show it, and they show one of the moms reacting to the news. Like, it's very emotional for sure. But yeah, so when Mateus did the full confession, the boys were, like, legally exonerated, basically. That plus DNA testing. This was in 2003 or 2002, and they did DNA testing on the old samples and on samples that Mateus provided, and confirmed that, yes, it was his DNA at the scene and no one else's. And, like, actual investigators have all pointed out, like, there was no DNA except for one person. You can't have a group of, like, 10 boys jump and gang rape a woman and only one of them leaves DNA behind. That's not how it works. And yeah, so... They're sticking together. Okay. So... the boys sued the city. Well, the men, at this point, they sued the city. And the city basically went, what? Huh? What? What's that? What? Like, that was the reaction. And they dragged it out for like a decade. And the only reason why they finally gave in was because I'm pretty sure it was Bloomberg, but the mayor left. And so all of the steamrolling and hiding and everything that had been happening finally stopped. And they got $40 million total. So between the 5 of them, $40 million. And then they've also explained, like, yeah, and then we had to pay, like, lawyer fees. And, you know, like, there was lots of stuff that they had to do with the money. Like, and so when it came down to it, it didn't actually wind up being all that much. And they've never gotten an apology from anyone. They've never gotten any sort of admission of fault. Nothing. They got the money, and then the city was like, cool, that's it, right? Done. Okay. Beautiful.
Thank you. I am truly the wittiest person that ever witted.
Yes. That's how I describe you. Are you actually leaving with Ricky? Or are you just annoyed of oh crap guys shit? Okay. So yeah.
And obviously I'm being very sardonic at the moment. Like, these are complaints.
So
I don't think they could be read another way, but just in case.
I mentioned a couple times at the start of the stream that one of the interviews that I found was with Yusuf Salam, and it was with Michael Schur and TYT interviews. So there was a nice surprise to stumble upon. And
oh, gotcha.
Oh, I see. So the interview that Michael did with Youssef took place on January 17th, 2017. So it was 4 days, I think, before the inauguration of Donald Trump. And not until that moment had I really like sat and thought about what that must have been like for those men. Like finding out that the man who wanted them murdered as children is going to be president, you know, and then having to live through him being president. And like I can't fathom those emotions and yeah, so much. Sardony is a good word. So they've all kind of settled in as much as they can with their lives. Most of them are fathers, are married. I think that Corey still isn't, at least not what I found, but what I found was not super duper recent. So that might have changed. And they all are like, as well adjusted as you can be, you know, like you can't really get over something like this being done to you, but you can move past it as much as possible. We all had to live through that presidency, but I think we can all agree it was way worse for Blacks and Asians and Latinos. Oh God, how is he still even politically viable to some people?
You just explained it.
Yeah.
That's why.
But like most of us on January 2017 when he was inaugurated had not been personally singled out by him to murder. You know, most of us, not all of us, but most of us. And I feel like that's just a whole other level of devastation, you know? And yeah. I don't know. I get, like, all bogged down in thoughts like that. But yeah, so that's the story of the Central Park 5, and I don't think that I really forgot anything that I can think of. Yeah. So that means we're gonna do a different topic on Thursday. So this has been a series of wrongfully convicted. And then there's some that I'm wanting to do that are wrongfully acquitted, like OJ and Casey Anthony and such. The one that we're gonna do on Thursday is a questionably acquitted, who knows, type thing. No, OJ is wrongfully acquitted. So he should not have been
Allegedly.
acquitted. Allegedly.
Like, you realize during that entire stream, we're just going to have the words allegedly blinking in red.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So wrongfully acquitted versus wrongfully convicted. But on Thursday, it's gonna be, who knows? We're gonna talk about Lizzie Borden. I don't have a solid opinion on whether or not she did it. But I'm going to be doing a lot of research between now and then. And maybe on Thursday I will have a different opinion. But I thought that would be fun to do one that's kind of ambiguous, you know? And movie night on Sunday will be a movie called Lizzie with, I know Kristen Stewart is in it, and Chloe Signemski or something like that. And it's the story, with, basically the premise is, but what if lesbians? That's what I gather from it. So.
Yeah, and, like, there is at least...
Yeah, if I did it.
There's at least some evidence of Lizzie Borden lesbian. I mean, it's definitely not a open and shut case or anything like that.
No.
It's not definitely the case.
Yeah, there's some indicators that it might have been the case, but we don't know. There's no way for us to know.
It's just definitely believable and not a ridiculous thing to ponder about.
Yeah.
And if you found out that, let's say that somehow we found out tomorrow that she wasn't, it'd be like really? Huh. Didn't figure that come out, but if it came out that she was actually lesbian, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not shocking if she wasn't, but not expected.
Yeah. There's a mini series, I think, with Christina Ricci that I did not get very far through. Where their theory was that she was having an affair with her dad. Which, alright. You do you, I guess.
With theory, not her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one time she told her father she was really into flannel. Yeah, I hope they keep that scene in the movie.
I mean, clearly
it's so important to the story.
She was clearly into flannel. That's why she wanted to be a lumberjack.
You were just so proud of yourself tonight.
Yeah, I always am. You know that. It's like Slim, from what I read, it was because she never got married from everything I've ever watched, too.
Yeah, and that's honestly part of why people found her suspicious.
Yeah.
Well, she's not married, so obviously something is wrong. That type of thing.
Thank you, Raffle Iron Chef. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. I believe it is both. It is flannel, the material, pattern, or both.
I believe it's both.
I'm pretty sure it has to be the right material.
Yeah.
You can't just,
Yeah. Otherwise it's just plaid.
Yeah. Raffle Iron Chef is correct.
It's a lifestyle choice. You're right. We're wrong. Apologies. I hope we didn't offend anyone. Yeah. Everyone go subscribe to Armac for tomorrow. Yeah, Armac is doing
a stream.
First stream ever tomorrow. We're all very excited about it.
And if you have any questions about I don't know how far you've gotten into figuring out the technology side of it, but if you have any questions about it, or you're like, hey, I've seen them do this thing, I want to know how they did it, just send me a message, and as soon as I see it, I will send you information on how I accomplished a thing. Assuming I see it in time, and assuming I remember how. But yeah. Although none of it's terribly complicated, but some of it took me a while to sort through. So yeah, if it's something you're like, I can't figure this out in 5 minutes, send me a message.
He likes helping people
I do.
with things. Okay. Well, we're gonna see how well these work after they dry. And yeah, we're just gonna have some fun with it. So, Thursday, Lizzie Borden. Well, it's only 11:30.
Yeah.
2.5 hours. Okay. What I can do is seal the dragon. Some of it is obtuse, not complicated.
Yeah, it's that's exactly right. It's one of those it's not hard to learn, but figuring out where to start can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who already knows it, they can explain, it can take 2 hours to figure out and 10 minutes to explain.
I'm gonna seal the dragon.
It sounded dirty somehow. I don't even know how.
Or druggy.
Yes.
So this means that, so I have been holding off on shipping any, until I was done with Anna, because I want to send Brooke and Brett and Anna and Shanks all at the same time, just to make postage easier, and also to, you know, make things a little more exciting in terms of stress, with it being lost in the mail, potentially.
I mean, it may be wise to not send them all at once. In one package.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going back and forth on a couple different options.
There's literally a phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So maybe don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't go out looking for a basket that fits all of your eggs so you can put all of them in the basket.
But that's my egg basket. So yeah. I'm trying to think if I left anything out of the story. I will tell you that Trisha, fully recovered. She has some cognitive issues from the brain damage that she sustained when he smashed her skull in. But she seriously should not be alive. The fact that she survived with so little damage is astounding. I wanted to watch the interview with her because I wanted to see, can you even tell? And the answer is no. It's wild that she recovered that well. Oh, so I can tell you about the Matthias dude. So there's a lot of tragedies going on in this story. Give away some of your eggs. One of the really awful ones is that because they were so focused on the Central Park 5 / Exonerated 5, and let Matthias go, he murdered someone else. There was a mom, I believe, in Harlem, and he had an MO. We're gonna get a little gruesome here, so hold on to your butts.
I'll be right back.
You can't handle the gruesome?
No, that's not an MO. You know me, it's gruesome does not bother me. It just seems good time for me to wander away.
Okay. So one of the things that was part of his MO was after raping his victim, he would make her choose. Either he would, and again, this is gonna get graphic, I apologize. Either he would pluck their eyes out or kill them, and they had to decide. And a lot of the time, he would make them decide and then kill them anyway. So the woman that died after the case of the Central Park 5, when he should have been in prison, was pregnant and was murdered in front of her children. He raped her, did the eye thing, and murdered her. All of it in front of her 2 young children. So that is a woman who didn't have to die, a fetus who should have been able to live, and 2 children who will never get over that. So when I say there are a lot of victims in this story, I really, really mean it. Yeah, it's wild. How can someone do that? And it's also kind of wild that someone who could do that would have enough of a conscience to come forward and say that someone was serving time for his crime. That's an interesting duality. He was in prison already. I think he was already serving life without parole, so it wasn't like he had anything to lose by coming forward. But still, That's still surprising, you know. It was 5 people serving for him, technically. Yeah. Well, no, because at that point, it was Corey. I think the other boys, or the other men had all gone out by then. It was just Corey left at Rikers. And the way that they met was that they got into a fight over what channel was going to be on the TV in the TV room. And apparently it got into a physical fight. And somehow in that physical fight, Mateus realized who Corey was. And I guess realized that he felt bad about it. It's weird that it took, you know, coming face to face with him when, you know, he knew about it for, what, 13 years before that? What channel one? Oh, I don't even know what, I actually wondered, like, I wonder who wanted what, but I couldn't find that information. But yeah, I did have a similar thought. Things to fight about at Rikers, what to watch on TV. I mean, everyone is so stressed out. Everyone is so, like, tense and angry and dealing with a lot of emotions and not knowing how to deal with those emotions in a healthy way. Like, fights happen over really, really ridiculous stuff. What was the one that I read about in the Amanda Knox story? There was something really dumb that got fought about in a prison, and I think, like, someone was, like, maimed over it. But, like, that's how it is. Just, like, prisons are a high-stress place, and people need outlets for that stress. And private prisons don't really give a shit about all of that, which is, like, it's such short-term thinking. Like, with the exception of death row, like, and, you know, people sentenced to life without parole, like, eventually you're planning on letting most of these people out. And you're super fucking them up with what you're letting happen to them in the prison, like, and you're just gonna release them without any resources, without any, like, help getting on their feet. Like, for example, Corey was in prison when Mateus came through, but so was Raymond Santana. Raymond Santana was in prison because after he'd gotten out of prison, he had no resources and couldn't find a job. Like, he was still a convicted, like, rapist and attempted murderer. So no one would hire him, and so finally he started selling drugs because, like, what else could he do? And so they wound up catching him and sending him back to prison for it. And so he was in prison at the time, and they let him out for time served because he had been sentenced based on the fact that he had already been in for something else. So it was, like, looked at as his second strike instead of his first strike. And so when they found out that he hadn't done it, they reevaluated that case and kind of went with, like, what would the sentencing have been if this was his first offense? And with that, he'd already served that amount of time. So both Corey and Raymond were able to leave basically that day. Which is just wild. So, like, I can't even imagine those emotions. You know? I got punched in the face over a chair in the psych hospital because I wanted to be left alone and some quiet time away from all the other patients. Yeah, like, psych hospital is another thing that's, like, super high tensions, lots of emotions, and lots of people not knowing how to healthily deal with those emotions. Like, of course, there are fights over ridiculous things. How could there not be? You know? Sticking together. basically at a stopping point.
Okay.
So, Medicare for all, hell yeah. She tried blaming me, but I was the only one with a busted lip, and all the other patients had to get the staff that they had cameras. That's good. They had cameras. Not all places have that, and so it comes down to, you know, she said, she said. I love you. I love you so much. You know this is my paint. No, it's mine. It's fine. Okay. So, thank you everyone for joining. Check out the Discord. I will post the link to the Michael Shore interview with, Yusuf Salam, who is an amazing human. Like, he's now a doctor, and, like, it definitely was more of a casual interview, it seemed like, for him. Normal, like, he tends to be a lot more poetic when he speaks normally. Like, he's very, like, the man's prose is poetry. And yeah, it's a really good interview, so definitely check it out when I post the link. I have to get up early to have problematic teeth extracted. Oh no! My aliens suck, puppy, good luck. That's awful. Psych wards are loaded with cameras, or maybe every hospital has heard of me and installed cameras beforehand. Oh, it makes sense, psych hospitals, yeah. Prisons, I think, are, you know, toss up. Who's on right now? $27 maybe? Does that sound good?
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And so, yeah, Thursday, Lizzie Borden. It'll be fun. We haven't done $27 in a while. Let's raid $27.
Okay.
Toss up if they work. Yeah.
So has follower only chat, looks like.
I think that's okay.
That should be fine.
Everyone follow $27 when we go over there. How many people are there? Awesome. Well, y'all, thank you so much for joining. I know this is a little bit shorter than normal, but I've been having pain in my back, so I need to be lying down. And yeah, so I will talk to you all on Thursday, and I will see you all in Armax stream tomorrow. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.